In a world hungry for change, nonprofit impact matters more than ever. Yet every day, you're asked to do more with less. Less time, fewer resources, and tools that weren't even built for the way nonprofits actually work. What if you could do more with more? That's the promise of Bloomerang, the giving platform built for purpose. Bloomerang integrates fundraising, donor, and volunteer management into one intuitive platform. It connects your data to reveal real opportunity, showing you who's ready to give, when to reach out, and how to deepen every relationship. Because when your tools are built for purpose, your mission goes further. More connection, more confidence, more impact. Now that's more like it. Learn how you can do more with more at bloomerang.com. That's bloomerang.com. Now on to the show. Hello, and welcome to Nonprofit Nation. I'm your host, Julia Campbell, and I'm going to sit down with nonprofit industry experts, fundraisers, marketers, and everyone in between to get real and discuss what it takes to build that movement that you've been dreaming of. I created the Nonprofit Nation podcast to share practical wisdom and strategies to help you confidently find your voice, definitively grow your audience, and effectively build your movement. If you're a nonprofit newbie or an experienced professional who's looking to get more visibility, reach more people, and create even more impact, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello. Hi, everyone. This is Nonprofit Nation with Julia Campbell. Today, I am actually really excited about this conversation. We are going to talk about some heavy topics like funding cuts and global instability and constant change and doubt and uncertainty. But I'm sitting down with someone that I think is one of the most optimistic, hopeful, positive leaders in the sector and beyond. It's Marc Pitman, who many of you know, founder of Concord Leadership Group. And Marc has more than 2 decades of experience coaching CEOs and training over 25,000 leaders across the globe. He's the author of Ask Without Fear and The Surprising Gift of Doubt, and a lover of Pabst Blue Ribbon and cheese curds, where when we hung out in Milwaukee. And I remember I didn't know how to order cheese curds because I didn't really know what they were. So I ordered like the extra large, and then like, this is not, I don't need the extra large, but I wasn't sure exactly.
And I needed my Lactaid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was such a fun trip. And also, fun fact, Marc went to college in my tiny town of Wenham, Massachusetts, which is 4,000 people. So that's such a crazy small world connection for us. How are you doing?
If you ever come down to Greenville again,
I want to come down to Greenville again. I love
They
Greenville.
have PBR on tap at the People's Tap because they think it's a riot to have PBR, and people love that it's on draft. So
I love PBR. It's very refreshing. So welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited to see you. And I just want to know, to start out, like, what are you working on and what excites you the most lately about your work?
Well, so you won't be surprised probably to find out that I'm working on a million different things.
Of course.
That's my wiring. I guess 2 different things that I'll say. One of them is I am taking all of my books and all of my writing and blogs and trainings and putting them into vector databases. I want to help people get access to good training on fundraising and good training on leadership. So I have Fundraising Coach GPT that Cherry and Koshi helped me to put together. And then I have a Leadership GPT that is all my leadership writing that I call the Pocket COO. And it makes me feel like, okay, so the stuff I've been doing for the last 29 years has merit, has life beyond me, even if I finally trim my blog that's been, going since 2003. So
I love that. The Pocket COO. That's so cool.
So there's the Pocket. So the Fundraising Coach GPT is at fundraisingcoach.com/FRCGPT. The Pocket COO is at leadershipgpt.pursuingpassion.com. Both of them are still being tested. But the Pocket COO has it. So there's a overwhelmed founder is one form of answers. Overwhelmed senior leader that's looking to retire is another one. And then middle manager that just isn't really sure how to, no one trained me to lead. And it's different than doing the thing I was doing before.
That is so, oh my gosh, I love that so much. I know Seth Godin was talking about creating some kind of like Seth Godin GPT. So you could just go in and ask it questions, and is trained on all his books, all his writings, all his blogs. I need to think about that for me and all the content that I've created.
So yeah, and I've been vibe coding it. So I even vibe coded. Another thing I vibe coded was a leadership.
I just learned what vibe coding was yesterday, by the way. My husband was like, you should vibe code something. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. So for those of us that don't know or didn't know.
So if you go to concordleadershipgroup.com/Zapper, Zapper, you'll see what a vibe coding project could look like. It's a leadership Zapper. It's a first person shooter where you get to shoot the negative thoughts that go through your mind and get points.
I love that.
It's so much fun.
I need that. That is so cool. Well, I love this because I do talk a lot about AI on my podcast. And the ways you're using it, they're just so applicable, and it's making your thoughts and your process accessible to so many more people. And it's really a way to scale the consulting that we do. It's kind of the thought leadership that we do, and just make it really, accessible to a wider group of people. So thank you for doing that. Send me all those links. I want to put them in the show notes. And I also want to just look at it for myself.
Yeah. I'd love to have it. They're all being tested. So I'd love to have feedback on them from people.
I love that. It's all being iterated. It's all just, we're trying it out.
Yep.
And I think that, really does bring us to our topic today, which is, the overall topic, leading in times of uncertainty. But I love in your latest book how you challenge a core assumption about leadership, and a core assumption that we need to project certainty. But you say that doubt is essential. So why is doubt essential, especially right now? And I wish we had recorded the half an hour we talked before we hit record.
For me, it pushes you to be more human. Yes. Interesting that I started out with AI projects I'm working on, but doubt helps you it invites you to look for other perspectives, to think about that maybe my way of seeing the world isn't the only one. It's not that my way is wrong, but maybe there's a different way. And it helps us to stop listening to all the externals only, and start listening to some of the stuff that our being is telling us, and our wiring and intuition has been kind of knocking on the door that, hey, there's another way. Yeah. And sometimes for some people, doubt is the catalyst that pushes them into, I'm tired of just feeling like I'm broken. I think I have something to offer here. And it helps them figure out what are those things, how to word those things so it sounds more objective language, that rather than just, I don't feel that way. That doesn't fly well in leadership, but saying, here are some, and then being able to have language to explain what you're trying to do. Doubt can be that catalyst and invitational moment.
And I know you work with many different CEOs across a variety of sectors and leaders. And when I think of a leader, I think of someone that maybe has like a clear vision for this time period. But I love when you talk about doubt and how it makes us human, and how it actually helps us talk to our staff who are facing increasing, shrinking resources, growing demand. And then also just a time of global uncertainty, a time of when you send an email out and you talk about literally anything, you're going to get blowback or pushback, or someone saying you're too political, or someone saying you're not political enough, or someone saying you're too extreme or not extreme enough. So how can leaders sort of rethink their relationship with uncertainty in the time we're going through right now that's like productive?
Wow. How many hours do we have together?
I know.
So the great question, because I think we've seen this in multiple ways through my career, but it feels like more intense ways in the last 5 or 6 years, and particularly in the last 2. Part of it is knowing what we're working toward. You said vision. And I think that I don't get into the whole, is a mission, is a vision. I don't find that debate helpful as much as, what are we doing? Why are we doing what we're doing? And if we can be clear on that, even though the storms are raging around us and there are existential threats at every corner, there's still some sort of solidity, some sort of gyroscope of, but this is still needed and this is still necessary. So how do we get this done? And part of the leader's job is getting tired of saying, this is still necessary. This is still the thing we need to do. And helping people focus outside of their own anxieties and not ignoring necessarily, but help them to remember here, this is what we're going towards. So this is the future we're driving towards. All of a sudden the road got blown up. So we're not really sure how we're going to get there. But remember, this is going to be great if this is accomplished.
Exactly. I think that oftentimes leaders feel like they need to know all the answers and they need to have all their ducks in a row. And they feel that way in order to make their staff feel safe. So if a leader right now is saying, oh, I mean, I don't know, we're facing layoffs or program cuts and, maybe even organizational survival, extreme budget cuts, but I just don't know what's happening right now. How can they convey that to the staff, to the stakeholders without really inciting a lot of fear, I guess?
Some of the clues to that are in how people face the lockdowns. Because there was a global existential threat for all of our organizations, for-profit and nonprofit. And some leaders are able to say, we don't know what the future looks like, but we hold these things to be really important. And we know that we're going to treat each other like human beings, and we're going to do the best by each other. And if we have to have layoffs, we're going to try to help people have soft landings. But it was rooted in values and beliefs. Those leaders seem to be able to pivot faster. And we've seen in nonprofits, other times of intense headwinds, that the people that continued communicating their vision, continued fundraising, continued outreaching, actually got out of it faster. It's the people that stopped or that said this isn't the right time to, or we should hold back. Those are the ones that took years longer to get back to pre-crisis levels. That's an answer. The other thing I'd love to give people listening is the permission, perhaps, of we are coded from grade school, middle school, high school, college, sports, early jobs, that we have to have the answers. Having the answers is how we get the grade. Having the answers knowing the answers to the questions, having, even certifications. We need to know what are all the questions so we can have all the answers. That isn't leadership, and that's not life. That is an aspect of working in our society, and our employees expect that of us. So there's that double-edged thing. It's internal and it's external, because the employees have gone through the same systems that we've gone through. Leadership, though, is being able to chart a course that isn't ever clear. What shocks most leaders that I've worked with is all the other leaders I look at seem to have it all figured out.
Oh, imposter syndrome.
Well, yeah. And it's sort of like, did I not get the memo? Was there a training that I missed? And it's not because the other leaders haven't figured out. It's just because it isn't safe to be vulnerable. And there needs to be some level of confidence that a leader exudes, so that people will stay with the organization and be able to have the space to do their work productively.
No, I love you said vulnerability, because I'm a huge Brené Brown fan. And I think, vulnerability equals courage. It's courageous to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
But I don't know if she said this. I'm going to credit her with this, and then I will look it up and change it later.
She's our new Mark Twain. All the quotes good credited.
Exactly. I think it was her podcast with Adam Grant. And she said, but we have to lead and tell our stories from scars, not wounds. So if you have an open wound and you are still in crisis and you're bleeding, it's very, very hard to tell your story and instill that confidence in people. But telling stories that are scarred over a little bit and a little bit harder, a little bit more in the past, I think it's a little bit easier to be vulnerable with those. So when people hear vulnerability, they think, oh, I have to be crying and telling everyone all my personal stories and, all of my different things I'm going through. But I don't think that's what vulnerability means. And I'm having trouble with language. Well.
It's in the air. No, I think that, but I just had a leader years ago tell me, I'm told to be vulnerable. I'm told that that's how to lead, but I have 100 people that are relying on me to make their mortgage payments.
Yes.
And if I'm losing my stuff and telling them all the uncertainty that I'm living in, they're going to get stressed out, and they'll either leave or they won't even get to be able to do the job that they said that they wanted to do, because they'll be so stressed. So I think you're right. I think there's a selective vulnerability. I love the scars, not wounds. I was told that it was better to talk from after you've been through a thing. And so I have to be very selective when I'm in the midst of a crisis and talking about it, because I know that it's a very different perspective than having gone through a crisis. I think for one of the biggest areas of vulnerability and hardest for leaders, and it's tied to the previous question, is saying, not sure. What do you see as perspective? The minute you can say, somebody asks you something, and this is where direct reports, even not in a crisis, one of the most annoying things for people that grow up, that I coach, is that their direct reports don't think for themselves. The direct reports keep coming to them and looking for them to provide all the answers.
Yes.
So training your direct reports, I'm not going to give you an answer. I'm going to ask you, what do you think?
What do you think the best approach is?
Did I tell you about my dead rat analogy? Okay.
A dead rat analogy. Okay.
So about 20 years ago, I pastored a church for about 4 years. And it was a church plant. We were starting a fresh, no people. This expression hadn't been there before, this expression of the church. And I had a full-time job at a hospital, fundraiser at a hospital, to pay for my pastoring habit. So it wasn't
to pay for your pastoring habit. I love it.
It wasn't like I had a lot of free time either, but I was committed. This is the calling. This is what I had wanted to do for decades. There was one moment where, there was a period of time where people kept showing me problems with the building, with the people, with the procedure, with the order of worship. And fortunately, we had a cat at the time who brought a dead mole to our backyard. And I called it a dead rat because I don't know if people know moles as well. So what I would tell people that came to me,
dead rodent of some kind,
is, I'd say, you know what? They'd give me this problem and then wait expectantly.
What are we doing with it?
Right. And I said, my cat, I think, cares for me and worries I'm not eating enough, because sometimes she'll leave a dead rat on the doorstep. And I think that's supposed to be sustenance and a gift, but I just see a dead rat. So next time, could you come to me? When you come to me, you have seen a dead rat that I didn't see. Thank you. And because you've seen that, maybe you have a way of like 3 or 4 different ideas of how to get rid of the rat. And so next, as you share these things, we need to hear this. We want to hear these things that you're seeing. We need that perspective, but you're probably uniquely gifted to be able to also show how we can remove it. So what do you see right now are the 3 things that we could do? And then it was shocking because they've never been asked in work or faith community to think. And so that was big. And it was great because you know what happens next. When they say there are 3, A, B, and C, I would be able to say, B sounds really good. Would you take care of that? Would you lead that part? So it's delegation.
Okay. I needed this morning when my daughter came into my room at 6:30 a.m. and was yelling, "Where are my volleyball jerseys?" And I was like, "You're 16. I've been away for like 2 weeks and I don't know. I don't know where your volleyball jerseys are." But to me, what's so interesting about how I reacted to it was I just reacted and I don't know, figure it out, blah, blah, blah. But if I had said to her, okay, your jerseys are missing. What are the 3 things we can do? We can look through your laundry. We can look at the laundry that's already being done.
You're giving her.
I'm giving her. Right. So I would ask her, what are 3?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
See, my whole thing with parenting that I know that I need to be better at is get the problem solving. So I'm not really comparing parenting to being a leader of an organization. But getting people to problem solve,
it's very applicable.
Hey, the printer's out of paper. Okay, what are we doing here? Or like you just said, oh my gosh, we didn't get this grant, and I'm really upset about not getting this grant. And if I was the leader, I would say, that's really disappointing. I know you worked really hard on that. But what are 3 things that you think, because like you just said, Mark, you're uniquely positioned to do this because you're in the trenches on the ground doing the research. What are 3 things that you think we could do about it? No, it's going to totally redefine my parenting now.
Well, and I'm going
to talk like a psychologist. What do you think? What do you think we should be doing?
Tell me about your mother. Oh, don't talk about me. No. One thing I want to underline what you said though. I gave you the scar. This is the story that was produced of it. I didn't give you the wound, which was the frustration of, why do they keep coming to me? Why can't they think for themselves? I don't have all this free time. I've got enough other stuff. They don't even know the other stuff I'm doing. Nobody's cleaning the toilets. I'm cleaning the toilets. Why is nobody cleaning the toilets? So all of the emotions that preceded this rational, reasonable, strategic answer.
Yes.
you missed, but I think that's part of my creative process. I usually stress out first.
But I think that's really important to understand. And that's why you are a leadership coach, because you've been through this and you understand, and then you have these tools and these frameworks that you can teach others. And really what you're doing is teaching leaders to help other people become leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we want to always be trying to bring up others. One hospital system I worked in Northern New England, they talked about the moose plan. What if our CEO got hit by a moose?
What if our CEO got hit by a moose?
Yeah, because they didn't like the lottery thing, because they like to think that the work was so meaningful that even if you won the lottery, you'd still work there because you loved what you did. But the odds of winning, if it's a moose versus man, the odds of winning are in the moose's favor. So
yeah, true. No, I think that's a really great analogy. I also don't think that enough organizations do succession planning really well, or do future planning. So when there's, sort of so much doubt and burnout and anxiety and job insecurity, how can we really plan best for the future? What is your advice to leaders?
It varies based on the leader's wiring. A blanket answer definitely would be that the succession planning question, I think, is an important one, because many people, especially in nonprofits, don't realize there's a pathway. I was talking to a former fundraiser who now works in a construction firm. She was hired to help with leadership and talent development, because the construction firm people were coming in and thinking that they were hired for their job and that's all they could do. They didn't realize there were all sorts of opportunities for growth. And one of them was moving from here in Greenville to Charlotte, and thought he had to leave the company because he was moving. Oh. He didn't even have the awareness, even though he worked there, that they had an office in Charlotte. So they were able to keep him employed. So I think part of what we do is if we talk about succession planning, it often feels like an ad hominem attack. I want you out, so when I want to replace you, or it freaks out the board because you're talking about I'm leaving if you're the CEO. But I think it's normalizing that talk of redundancy, maybe, or backup systems. Who's the backup if we're not available? How do we start codifying these things? And I think that helps provide stability in this, leading in this chaos. Where I just did a blog post on the 3 things that leaders can focus on are systems, habits, and values.
Systems, habits, and values.
So the systems are flexible, but they are something objective and outside of our personhood. So we can all focus on them objectively. And it doesn't mean that nobody's attacking each other. It's what are the systems that we have in place? Mm-hmm. Those are often rooted in habits. And sometimes we can tell it's a habit versus a system when the system goes away and we still keep doing the thing because it's habitual, which is actually, it can be good or bad. It's neutral. I wrote it in terms of a good thing, but there can be bad habits. We could reward bad behavior. We could keep people long past their toxic people in our organizations. That could be habitual because we don't want to have confrontation, and that's bad. Yeah. But the third one, the under kind of the grounding of it all, is our values. What do we find important? What do we reward? And it's usually not the words that we've said before. It's usually looking at our past behaviors and our stories that we use to reinforce those behaviors. Those are usually where we can really find our true values.
So systems, habits, values.
I think those are help navigate through a crisis and help a team, again, not ignore all that's going on around them, but also, hey, while we're here, we've been charged to focus on these things. Do these systems, are they still, in this crisis, are these systems still serving to get us where we need to go? Or should we tweak some?
Exactly. I love that you talked about COVID, because I do think, that was a real reckoning for a lot of organizations, especially maybe arts organizations or organizations where people gathered in person after school programs. It's so many things. Food pantries, where people needed to be there, physical people need to be around physical people. And then that whole doubt of, should we be asking for money during this time? I think we're experiencing that right now. Mm-hmm. Should we be talking about our mission right now when there's just, I didn't even look at the headlines today because I can't, it's sometimes just so overwhelming, but it's should we be talking about this right now? Is this important enough? Should we be quote unquote, burdening our donors? Should we be raising money in this climate where gas is $7 a gallon? What should we be doing? I don't think we're ever going to leave this time of uncertainty and just get to a time where everything is like peachy and rosy and we'll all know what to do. So
and part of the problem with when it was peachy and rosy and whose ever iteration of that is it was based in incredible systemic inequities and misogyny and patriarchy. So there are still really big problems. It was just problems that we kind of had systems for navigating. And so I do think you're right. I think we are in a uncomfortable and I hope really generative time of breaking free of a lot of those things. But as in any good story right now, that the future is unclear, whether we're going to have a glorious, renaissance, or if we're just going to go into authoritarianism. I don't know.
It's literally like anyone's call. Like I also don't know.
Yeah.
We're hanging on by a thread.
To your point about COVID though, what we have found, and I've been fundraising for 29 years, what we have found, and like I said earlier, is that the organizations that keep asking and keep contextualizing their ask. Yes. Yeah. There's nothing compassionate about not asking. Nothing at all. And there's two reasons for that I could think of. One is, how dare we make up the minds of our donors for them? Who do we think we are? I don't know your podcast. I would say, who the hell do we think we are that we can decide for our donors that they don't want to be generous? That's not our role. Our role is to, as adults, share a need and ask if people want to contribute. The other part is, in a world that's totally falling apart, giving is one of the most empowering things to our donors. All the world is going around. I can't even look at the news all the time, but man, I can support this organization because this is what I believe in and this is what I want to support and see in the world. And we could be offering that to people. We saw that arts organizations that couldn't have symphony orchestras that couldn't have performances raise more money not having performances than they had before because people just they loved it. They wanted to support it. And some people just felt like I am investing in what I think is important and I want to see in the future. And how dare we remove that opportunity from people?
I love that. That's just like a breath of fresh air. That's so refreshing. How dare we remove that opportunity from people? And who are we to assume? People are adults, like you said. And also we're giving them an opportunity, just to reiterate what you said, for them to feel empowered and feel in control and feel like, okay, in this time of uncertainty, I can help this particular cause, issue, area, organization that I really care about. I know I feel that way, and I felt that way, especially during COVID. And I feel that way right now, feeling like I know what nonprofits are capable of, and I know what these organizations can do. So what sort of daily or like ongoing practices can help leaders stay grounded? Not even grounded in doubt, but just help them stay grounded and stay sane.
One of the biggest things that I got from when I was a teenager reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey was the idea that there was a stimulus and there was a response and there was space in between it. The pressure to react quickly has always been part of human beings. We've had to have fight or flight or freeze or fawn, whatever those are. We needed to know, is this bear going to attack me? Or is it a threat or not? We have grown into a society that doesn't have that kind of existential threat at the same level. It's more systemic and slow in many places. I'm speaking out of privilege. Where we live in the United States and in many Western countries, there are other countries where we are inflicting great harm. And that is not the case. I think whatever we can do to create space, we had talked before we started recording about creating space on our calendars. That is one of the big, for me, every 2 weeks, I took a Scrum training course with Diane Leonard from Diane
Scrum.
Leonard.
I read that book. I love that.
And Diane Leonard does a Scrum for Nonprofit certification, which is brilliant. I don't know how to do it as a single person, but I do 90 minutes every 2 weeks. I block, and it's for looking over my calendar, making sure my projects are in order, and prayerfully looking at what do we have coming up? How did we do the last 2 weeks? Many leaders that I coach find that the only time that they're creating space for themselves is in the calls that we do twice a month. So when we end our year of coaching, they often almost guiltily say to me, I'm going to keep this block on my calendar because nobody bothers me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's your calendar. You're the leader. Go for it.
Yes.
So I have a lot of habits. I get up relatively early. I've always been an early riser. I walk 4 miles at a cardio to heart rate. I meditate 30 to 60 minutes a day. I eat high fiber, high protein. There's certain things I know that I need to do in the morning because of my neurodivergency and because of my wiring that sets me up better for the day and sets me up better to be there fully present for my family and for the people I serve. that I also know is because our kids are out of the house. It used to be there are times where I would get up at 4 a.m. And so I'd sacrifice sleep, which isn't necessarily healthy, but because I needed to get these things done. And I need to, I listen to podcasts at 3x speed. So I listen to,
oh my gosh, I remember being in your car and listening to some podcast that was like three times speed. And
I probably felt like Swedish
I was
too,
going crazy. I was like, what's happening here?
But so
that's the opposite of me. I like the one time or even like slower. But that's so funny.
So finding out how you replenish. There's other people in my life that don't replenish that way. It's going to an art museum or going to nature. Nature is really what I've been reading about neurology. We are designed to. We're
designed to be outside.
Yeah, be outside. So there's I think it all. So the patterns. I could give you my formula, which is probably suspect because I'm a straight white male living in 21st century America. But there's also there's fighting for those disciplines and choosing what. For me, my wife has just reflected that she hears me say this a lot. Tomorrow me is going to be a lot happier that I do this now. I don't want to do this now.
Future me. I call it future me.
Okay. So
like future me is going to hate me if I don't do this today.
Right? I could do this in the next 15 to 20 minutes or I could let it go.
Yep. And then future me is going to be really
ticked. So I think it gets down to creating that space. And for some people, it's 15 minutes. I know for meditation practices, the teachers I listen to say 2 minutes of mindfulness is a huge start. And so just building that and then helping that space become a little bit more enlarged and experienced, and also freeing yourself up from the guilt and shame of needing it. There's no guilt or shame for needing it. And you're not really, it's like putting on your own oxygen mask first.
Yes.
You don't have to have any guilt or shame that you're putting yours on first. That is the best advice and the best way to continue living so that you can help others as well.
Yeah, before I was diagnosed with cancer, I always had a really hard time justifying like napping or resting during the day. I always had to like go, and then get the kids and do this and dinner and blah, 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 blah. But now, even though I'm done with treatment, napping is still something that I block into my day. I also, obviously coming from a huge place of privilege to be able to do that. I work at home and I am able to do that like a couple times a week, but also just resting or just taking even like you said, 15 minutes to just breathe or rest. I found has been really important from going from, the go to not doing anything for about a year and then expecting myself to just kind of get back into that routine. So like, I love what you said, giving yourself grace and really putting your own oxygen mask on first as much as you can. I know that's really challenging, especially for those executive directors that are working, 12, 15-hour days. But I think being more intentional with my time has helped me, whether it's trying to take things off the calendar that are not serving me, or once again, I do have that choice, but also just being more streamlined in what I'm trying to accomplish and also what I know I can accomplish with my current energy levels.
And knowing it's okay that you're not going to accomplish. Yeah. Most of us have more in our life that than we could ever accomplish, and realizing, I've had a good day, and I am going to now take a break. I am going to now have a meal without any interruptions, or I'm going to go watch this sappy rom-com or Pride and Prejudice 1995 because it's, I was thinking Pride and Prejudice 1995, Real Housewives, similar. Yeah, it's family drama.
There's a new Pride and Prejudice, isn't there?
I don't know. No, it's new Wuthering Heights. And
Wuthering Heights. Okay.
Don't get my daughter started because it's not, the costumes are wrong. The story is wrong. It's not Wuthering Heights. It's just an excuse to use a good title, according to the expert living in my house.
Okay. I will take note. I do want to see it.
Helping as a nonprofit executive director that's not only getting pulled from staff and direct reports, but also from board. And the board tends to communicate when they're not at work. So that's usually in your off hours. So part of it is setting times that you're not accessible. I work ever since my time at Gordon. I learned about the Jewish practice of Sabbath, and I'm not Jewish, nor have I ever played that on TV. But I appreciate the one I follow is Jewish, and the pattern of having a 24-hour period where I'm not responsible to produce the stuff has been something that served me for decades. And it's floating. I'll usually start, it's often like sometimes like 4 p.m. to Saturday to 4 p.m. Sunday. Last week, because I had a homebrew thing. So I brew my own beer, and there my homebrew club was meeting also and having a competition. So it was all day Saturday. It was like I donated platelets, and then I went to this brew competition.
We all aim to have as much energy and stamina as you, Mark.
Well, it's not about being like me. God help everybody, but it's also knowing what gives you life, and
knowing what energizes your batteries.
And I don't know why we're wired this way, but shame wants us to feel like that's bad. Oh, this is too much fun. I'm not allowed to have this much fun.
Right.
And I think that could be a tell for us. It is for Emily and I. When we feel this like, oh, but there's no way we could do that, that becomes a red flag, but it's probably a rainbow flag. It's not red. It's not warning. It's invitational of, that means we should probably do that. So this year we've been, our word for the year has been play. Whenever we feel like, oh, that's just frivolous or that's play, we know, oh, that's the door we're choosing. Door number 3. That's the door we're going to go through, even though there's all these other things to do. So being intentional about your choices.
With Emily, I know. I think people would love to hear about it.
Okay, so Emily and I met 31
years of marriage. Yay!
And we also had been married for 31 years, so we only knew each other for about 8 months, and before we got married, which we don't advise, but it's worked for us. Because we're both
me too.
And love each other. You too.
We've definitely talked
that's
about
right.
This.
Yes, I forget that.
I only knew my husband for 8 months before we got engaged, and I'm going to celebrate my 21st wedding anniversary this year. So something to be said for the 8 months. Maybe it's magic. I don't know.
And we've been asked a number of times, even by our kids, how is it you're still growing? How is it that you're not ossifying, calcifying, getting smaller and narrower in your view? And people also loved hearing us talk. So they said, you should have a podcast. So we're in our 4th season of Still Figuring It Out. That's the name of the podcast.
I can't believe I don't listen to it.
We're doing it. A friend of mine said, what's the business purpose of this? And I said, it brings Emily and me joy. Even if there were no listeners, we just love having a half hour, 20 minutes to talk about a topic. And now we've started inviting guests in. Yeah, it's been a real bright light. Last week's one was on cocktails, hospitality, and art. Like, how do you find your center in a world that seems to be falling apart? And so we had a friend on who's a spirits educator for distilled spirits. And she's a cocktail crafter for a local distillery in Pittsburgh.
I know. My husband and I say we should just have a podcast of us like watching and heckling sci-fi TV shows.
Oh, see, that would be fun too.
Yeah.
Except for the copyright issue, but yeah.
That's so great. Well, Mark, how can people connect with you online, learn more about your work and what you do, and get your books, all the things?
Thanks. I hope I've made myself ridiculously easy to find online. So if you Google Marc with a C, Pitman, P as in Peter, I-T-M-A-N, you should find me. If it looks like I've been in a Charles Manson movie, that is not me. That's the other Marc Pitman.
Is there another Marc Pitman with
there
a C?
Is. I Googled myself for the first time, which sounds awkward, but it's just searching.
I Google myself all the time.
Okay, in 1999. Okay. And I found that there was another Marc with a C. So that's why I got marcpitman.com, because I realized, who knows? So search me, LinkedIn. I'm always there. My website, concordleadershipgroup.com, CONCORD leadershipgroup.com. And also for listeners of this podcast, clearly fundraisingcoach.com, with one of the longest running blogs in the nonprofit sector. It continuously blogging for the last 23, 24 years. And I try to respond all those ways, except during that 24-hour period of rest.
Exactly. Oh my God.
And I'm on Threads a lot too. If you guys are on Threads.
Oh, you're on Threads.
I like Threads a lot. Yeah. That's Marc with a C, Pitman. There's no A in that one because there's a backstory, but it's Marc Pitman. Yeah. Instead of Marc A. Pitman.
Oh, great. Okay, cool. Yeah, you'll have to teach me all about Threads. I have not figured out.
Keep up with the PWHL. At the time of this recording, Boston Fleet just won their first finals for the PWHL Walter Cup, and
yay!
So exciting! It's first semifinal, so through the it's playoff season now. So
that's so exciting. Okay, well, this has been wonderful. We could just record for hours and hours and hours, but it's just so great to see you. So great to hear your perspective. I really actually did get some very tangible insights and something I'm going to use when I am, when I say like, oh, I want you to do something like in my house or conversations with people or a client. I love the idea of the 3 things. Like, what do you think are the 3 things that could make this happen, rather than me, which is I'm kind of like I automatically want to do everything for everyone and I want to have the solution. So that is incredibly, incredibly helpful to me. But just everything that you talk about, Marc, I love it. I could listen to you all day. So I'm definitely going to listen to your podcast with Emily. And yeah, everyone check out Concord Leadership Group, fundraisingcoach.com, and Marc Pitman on Threads. And hopefully I'll see you very soon.
Well, hey there. I wanted to say thank you for tuning into my show and for listening all the way to the end. If you really enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app, and you'll get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. I would love if you left me a rating or a review, because this tells other people that my podcast is worth listening to. And then me and my guests can reach even more earbuds and create even more impact. So that's pretty much it. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. But until then, you can find me on Instagram at JuliaCampbell77. Keep changing the world, you nonprofit unicorn.